Hey there, how there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to yet another Cutter Top 10 sports video. We're looking at the NBA, of course, wearing the Raptor number 9 for RJ Barrett. Hopefully, the Raptors do well. Of course, as of this taping, it's 2-2 with the Raptors in Cleveland in the first round. We won't be worrying about the second round um, stuff with the NBA and all that until when we get close to the second round, of course. Um, Second round is the second round, so. So anyway, we're going to be looking at an NBA top 10 list, and we're going to take a look at the top 10 NBA coaches of all time. Obviously, NBA teams need a head person, and that is what we're going to be about today. So let's take a look. Number 10 is K.C. Jones. Well, the pair of K.C. Jones / Bill Russell, because both of them were former Celtic icons who were players in the 1960s, but then became coach of the team. Bill Russell was the player coach in 1969 when Boston won the title, well, 68 as well. So he won 11 rings and all that. And K.C. Jones won 8 as a player and 2 as a coach with the Celtics, having the teamwork and defensive discipline. K.C. Jones was the coach in the 70s for the Celtics, winning 74 and 76, if I remember correctly. So yeah, it was amazing to see Bill Russell actually become a player coach and all that. I know Will Chamberlain nearly did, but that was going to be in the ABA, and he nearly got in trouble for that. Number 9 is Don Nelson. He was the all-time leader in regular season wins for many years. He was known for his offensive systems, coaching longevity, and all that. Don Nelson was the coach of Dallas for a while, and I know he was Golden State's head coach. Was he? I think he was Golden State's head coach. Was he Dakota State's head coach when they had that massive upset over Dallas in 2007, or was he the victim of that? But anyway, yeah, Don Nelson was a pretty good coach and all that. Number 8 is Chuck Daly, who was the coach of the Bad Boy Pistons and all that. He was a simple guy in the 80s and all that. The Pistons were trying to get rid of the Celtic juggernaut of the 1980s and all that, and then using the Bad Boy defense, Mark Geyer, Isaiah Thomas, Dennis Rodman, Joe Dumars, Rick Mahorn, Bill Laimbeer, and all those guys. So that was impressive. Winning back-to-back titles in 1989 and 1990, kind of rooting the Lakers dynasty in a sense. However, in 1992, his greatest accomplishment was leading the Dream Team, who became the first team of professionals, well, full professionals, to compete in the Olympics, as basketball was allowed to have professionals in it. And then led the Dream Team Olympic gold. Of course, there were a few controversial moves, including, leaving Isaiah Thomas off the roster, even though Isaiah played for Chuck Daly and all that. That was kind of weird. Chuck Daly had to deal with players from different teams, like MJ, for example, and he also had to deal with Christian Laettner, the only amateur player, because he was playing for the Duke Blue Devils. I think that was one of the things. Number 7 is Larry Brown, who actually is the only coach in history to win an NCAA and NBA championship. Larry Brown was decent for the ABA's Indiana Pacers. He had many stints with Cleveland and Philadelphia, brought stability. He helped the University of Kansas win the 1988 championship over Oklahoma in that season that was known as Denny and the Miracles, because Denny Manning and his group were a 6th seed or something like that, and nobody expected them to do well. So yeah, he did that, and then in 2004, yeah, he was the Sixers head coach when he had to deal with Allen Iverson and practice, and how angry he got at Larry Brown. However, in 2004, Brown found the formula for the Pistons. They had Ben Wallace, the famous undrafted player from Virginia Union. They also had Chucky Atkins, Chauncey Billups, who was basically passed around like a oil rag. Not Jeff Diamond. Anyway, a lot of, yeah, even the immortal Darko Milicic on that team. But one of their big moves was getting Rasheed Wallace from Portland in a trade, and it actually worked. So anyway, yeah, the 2004 Pistons were champs. 2005, they ended up losing to the Spurs in the final. But yeah, Larry Brown was just huge. Of course, that 2005 Pistons team was hurt by that whole mouse in the palace ship. Number 6 is Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr, of course, is the current head coach of the Golden State Warriors. Allegedly, he might be gone because, Golden State failed to make the playoffs, if you will. He won multiple championships as a Chicago Bull. Of course, he came from the University of Arizona. His father was a diplomat in Lebanon. But anyway, yeah, Steve Kerr was a decent player. He was known for his famous winning shot as a Bull in 97 in the NBA Game 5, giving the Bulls their 5th title overall. He revolutionized the game with a focus on three-point shooting and ball movement. Well, he should know the guy freaking was the three-point shooter for the Bulls after Paxson left. But yeah, Steve Kerr was a pretty good shooter in his own right. Who did he play for? I think he played for San Antonio for a title 99, wasn't it? But yeah, Steve Kerr was decent. And then when he became head coach of the Golden State Warriors, I think the fans were like, who the hell does he think he is? Well, I mean, when you win 4 titles in 2010, 4 titles, you have to applaud the guy. Like, he is iconic, getting Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, Andre Iguodala, my man on the Golden State players, Kevin Looney, and of course the immortal Steph Curry to play well as a team. Number 5 is Lenny Wilkens. Wilkens actually was a player's coach, if you will, a player-friendly approach, and ranks among the leaders in career wins. Well, Wilkens should kind of know because he used to be a player himself. He was an icon for the University of Providence back in the 60s, and then he went to the Seattle Supersonics among other teams, helped them out, and became player coach for a few years, and then got to the coaching side of things and helped the Sonics win the 1979 NBA title against all odds. So yeah, Lenny Wilkens knew what he was doing. He was helping Atlanta out in the Cleveland and Atlanta out in the 80s, 90s. He even became coach of the Raptors for a couple of seasons. Bet you didn't know that. But yeah, Lenny Wilkens coached the Raptors in 2001 to their first playoff series win of all time against the Knicks. Unfortunately, they fell in Game 7 to the Sixers. They just couldn't fix the team. And then basically coach after coach after coach tried their best until Nick Nurse finally got the title for the team. I wish Dwayne Casey was the head coach of that team, but no. Anyway, Lenny Wilkens brought African American coaches to the forefront, which was pretty good. Number 4 is Pat Riley. Pat Riley won 5 NBA championships as a coach for both the Lakers and the Heat. And yes, he did coach the New York Knicks as well. Can't forget about that. But anyway, he was known for his motivational style, defensive strategies, and basically that hair, that coiffed hair. Ew. So anyway, Pat Riley knew what he needed from his team, especially the Lakers of the 1980s, who were perpetually fighting with the Celtics for championship glory. And no, he was not the head coach in 1980 when the Lakers won the championship, but still, I mean, Pat Riley knew what he got. He had Magic. He had James Worthy. He had AC Green. He had, I would say, Harper. No, he didn't have Harper. Who was that? Michael Cooper. He had a list of other Lakers. But yeah, he made them work hard and all that. And then he went to the Knicks and then went to the Miami Heat and helped them win the 2006 title against the Mavericks. So yeah, Pat Riley knew what he had to do. He coached Shaq and D Wade, so that worked. Number 3 is Greg Popovich, who is the all-time leader in NBA coaching wins. He is still with the San Antonio Spurs. He guided the Spurs to 5 championships. He's known for his tactical excellence, leadership, and basically everyone being jealous that he's been around for a long time. Popovich has been around since, I say, 1998, which is hard to do, being a head coach of a team for almost 3 decades. Jerry Sloan can tell you that too. I wish Jerry Sloan should be number 10, but anyway. Greg Popovich was an icon, still is an icon and all that. The Spurs are at 2-2 in their playoff series as of right now. But yeah, Popovich does his job. And, he did well. He's partially the general manager, and he's the guy who got people like Ginobili and Tony Parker, international players, to buy in to the system. I mean, he has Wambi. He has Wambayama from France. So he knew what to do. International scouting. Too bad he didn't really have a good Canadian. That would have been nice. Number 2 is Red Auerbach. Red Auerbach was a pioneer of the game in the 50s and 60s. He's the man who helped the Boston Celtics become too dominant for their own good. Red Auerbach will always be remembered for being a great guy for Boston. He nearly got fired a couple times, but he kept on pacing them. And then from 1958 to 1966, every title went to the Celtics. Although there was only like 9 or 10 teams in the NBA, so small league. Well, I mean the NHL only had 6 teams in the 50s and 60s, well, early 60s. But yeah, Red Auerbach was an icon, and he knew what to do. So anyway, he liked it. He was known for lighting a victory cigar and basically being a Boston's mainstay for many years after the 1960s, being a consultant for the Celtics teams in the 70s, 80s, and 2000s when they won titles. So, Red Auerbach was an icon. And number 1 is the Sandmaster, Phil Jackson, being an 11-time NBA head coaching champion with the Bulls and Lakers. He knew what to get from his team and all that. He was the Sandmaster. He basically preached all these Zen-like tactics to keep his team afloat, especially with MJ and Pippen's problems in Chicago and Kobe and Shaq having problems in Los Angeles. But Phil Jackson was this great guy. He even played for the Bulls, if memory serves me right. Hercules, and the Knicks. He won 2 titles for the Knicks as a player in the 70s. So yeah, Phil Jackson knew what he had to do with the pedigree. And then with the Bulls, he helped them beat Magic and the Lakers in 91 and then 92 against Portland and Clyde Drexler, the team. Well, of course, Portland, the team that should have drafted MJ, but they had no transfer room for guards because they had Jim Paxson and Clyde Drexler. What were they going to do? And then, of course, in 93 against the Suns with Charles Barkley coming over from Philly. And then after, MJ retired, they had those 2 lean years. And then 96, they won the title against the Sonics on Father's Day, 97 against the Jazz, and 98 against the Jazz. And then he moved on to the Lakers because the Bulls were basically being crumbled by Jerry Reinsdorf. But he found room with the Lakers. He was the main guy for the Lakers with Kobe, Shaq, Rick Fox, Robert Horry, Devin George, Tyrone Lue, Samaki Walker. So anyway, he knew what he had to do with the Lakers. He got them the 3-peat and all that, which was amazing. But of course, Kobe and Shaq had their own problems, and Phil Jackson tried his best to fix the problem, but he just couldn't. Sometimes that's big. And of course, Phil Jackson became kind of the general manager or president of the Knicks, but that was a failure in its own right, which sucks. It really does. Anyhow, I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.